I just don't understand why this team makes such terrible decisions or sequences of decisions that are so easily communicated between players.
I think mainly like they play very individualistic. Like they just play for themselves without care of what their teammates are doing. But for jungler, I think he's just getting destroyed by Marcoon in both games. And he will always be late because he cannot be the proactive one, because if he meets Marcoon anywhere in the river, he will just die. Because he's just so far behind, because he played early game extremely bad. So, I mean, of course, that's the issue with his own pathing, which has been very lackluster throughout, like so far. But for the other players, I think they are just hyper focused on lane and not the big picture. You know?
What I hate about this Vitality squad as well, being so fucking whack compared to the names, is it's allowed all these morons who were just hating on Perks on Cloud9 to like keep the narrative going when it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I don't know if you saw this in spring, they're all just like, oh yeah, Perks is fucking washed. Like, he's probably the best player on the bloody team. Like, what are you talking about? He does his job fine. And most of the games I watch, he's like ahead, he's CSing fine, he's getting kills. Like, he can't 1v9 the game, guys. So it's like, there was never even his style of play anyway, for fuck's sake. Like, what do you think on Perks?
I mean, I think in spring he was the second best mid laner in LEC. Especially his Orianna game against Caps. Like, it stands out in my mind. But I think this split, I'm not sure what's happening. It feels the way he plays more impatient or like he's frustrated. But I'm not sure what's happening with the team from the outside, you know?
I asked this earlier, but go on, Monty.
I was going to say, he looked very frustrated in the game that he played against you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made the like Hail Mary play that he did, right?
I think even against Mad Lions, you know, like when Mad Lions were doing Baron and he was just hitting people on Azir, it just didn't make sense.
What about this then? Like I said before, the next team you play, it's actually the only top team you have yet to play is Rogue. But obviously Rogue's actually started kind of a bit dodgy in the split. Like, if people don't know, for a normal team, it's fine to be 3-2. It's not the end of the world. Rogue is a team that only ever loses 4 or 5 games in entire splits. Like, it's actually really bizarre for this team to start the split so shitty. So is this indicative? You implied earlier, Nelson, that you didn't put them in your initial group of teams who play the right way, but you had them as sort of like, maybe they sort of play correctly in the meta?
I think they just have a different way of handling like mid game. I think G2 knows how we play, and they also know how to execute it. And Mad Lions have a very similar style to us, but Rogue just plays in a different way. But I think their early and mid game fundamentals are still very solid.
What do you think of the Malrang aspect? Like, is it still working?
I think it's still working as long as he has the laners he has. You know, you still have Larson, you still have Trimby and Comp. I think you still can play that way.
Okay.
They're just like opposite version of G2, you know, where G2
you
is
don't
like
think
stronger
at the end
topside.
of the split they'll be essentially it sounds like you're a bit down on them, but they're not as good this split though.
No, I think they are still as good this split, but I just
Could they win the split?
I still think G2 is better.
Okay.
I mean, I think the competition is obviously leveled up, right? It is a lot tougher. Like, LEC is having a much better split than they did last time around, where a lot of the teams looked like they were not competitive. I mean, G2 started off really rough before eventually winning. So it just, Excel obviously doing a lot better as well. So I think that part of Rogue can't be viewed in isolation, right? Because they themselves are going to have probably a harder time, especially because they started, their first week was against Fnatic, G2, and Mad Lions. Like, they had a really fucking hard schedule. And then, I mean, they won both of their games this week, so they're kind of getting right back into it. And after they pulled off the miracle win against Mad Lions, they technically have a winning record. So I think by the time they finish the second round robin, they're not going to be favorites against XL. But beyond that, in the next few weeks, like, they play SK, Vitality, and BDS. Those are 3 of their next 4 games, all of which should be very winnable. So are we really going to be knocking this team if at the end of the next few weeks we come back and they're 6-3, right?
Yeah, I think
the one thing they don't do is win. Like, it's only about winning for Rogue. It's not about being a good team, is it? You know.
I think they were unlucky to lose against Fnatic. Like, they were playing well and they made one mistake and lost Baron. And of course, you know, they shouldn't have beaten Mad Lions, but it even out in the end.
True. What about the aforementioned Fnatic then? Where are you at on this roster?
I'm not sure what's happening with them. It just looks like everyone is just doing their own thing, you know? Like Upset is disconnected from his team, and Hylissang is basically the meta right now doesn't fit him because it's a lot of mages. And then Humanoid is trying to carry games on his own, and Wonder is trying to carry games on his own.
I'm not even sure.
It's
like,
weird how he said that, isn't it? Notice there, Monty, how he said that Hylissang, who everyone would say is like the greatest European support, blah, blah, blah. It's not really his meta, but I'm told good players, the one defining factor is adaptability. So I just do to you guys what everyone does to me all day long with my favourite players. Go on then. Well, obviously he's shit player, can't even adapt, can he? Can't he play League of Legends, Hylissang? Like, no, unsurprisingly, he's amazing on certain things, not on others, like every other bloody player in the world. We get it. We get it.
I think the question for me with Fnatic is that they've never really solved this entire year the Razork integration issue that they've had, where he's never really seemed like he was on the same page as the rest of his teammates at any point in time, which is surprising considering that he was a hot commodity in the offseason and coming off. And I think he's still an individually good player, but the synergy issues that this roster has are concerning. Especially given this length of time that they've had in order to gel. You would think that Razork would be fully integrated by now, and I just don't think it's ever going to happen if it hasn't already happened.
Do you think that have they got sort of issues in that sense at Nelson? Like, because essentially, like, they have an over split now. Fundamentally, the team's never looked super coherent. Like, they have mega players, obviously. These players can pop off, but they've never looked like they're super dangerous. Like, this team's amazing. What a unit! Like, they've never really had that in Fnatic.
I think Razork's play in Fnatic seems like he's just clueless on what to do. I think he's probably not the correct jungler for them, and I don't think that he can fix it or they can fix the issue. They'll probably have to wait for next year.
Basically, the vibe I get is, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with his skills. I just get the vibe, like, in terms of mentality, I think it's a terrible personality balance in the squad. Because in their squad, like, I get the vibe that, like, if I had to guess in Misfits, remember he was playing with a bunch of rookies, like inexperienced, but I bet he just did whatever he wanted in that team. It looked like in that team he could just have total agency. In this team, right, even before you've done anything as a jungler, you have to figure out what the fuck is Humanoid doing. Where's Hylissang roaming to? Like, this is a really hard team to play in. It's not easy. It's not fucking jungling by numbers. It is a really difficult team to be a jungler in. What type of jungler would they need in this team, do you think, Nelson, to make them legit, to make them really good?
Oh, they just need Jankos. I think
That'll be the fix for everyone, though. There's only one Jankos. There's only one Jankos.
I think Jankos or Malrang, like either one of these two. I think those two are like perfect fit for him.
People have their own initiative, basically.
No, like people who are willing to sacrifice to help
right,
their teammate.
The dog, right? Okay.
And they know how to be the dog, you know. Like
there you go.
It looks like Razork doesn't know how to. So yeah.
Okay. I think it's funny when it's silent. So
you love the awkward.
Love them awkward silence. Yeah, use it to my advantage.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.